I'm the Movie Geek, and I've seen Spider-Man Homecoming, so here are a few thoughts on that film. Firstly, does anyone else think the whole homecoming dance part felt a bit redundant? As though the title came before the story. I know it ended up playing a fairly big part into the reveal of Adrian Toomes and for Peter Parker to get back into his student life, but it just felt like it was Marvel's way of saying, "Welcome home, Spidey. Did they hurt you over there at Sony?" It looked like they did. Anyway, let's get on, because I am aware that I'm doing this now, and it's like almost a week after it's been released. But anyway, let's get on. It's not going to be a normal review where I just say what the film's about and everything. I'm just going to go into a few points that I really enjoyed. I absolutely loved the fact that after almost 10 years of the MCU, Marvel, in all their mighty glory, have the balls to flat out troll us. After the success, and quite honestly, the bloated credit scene with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, it took a hell of a lot of restraint just to add Captain America at the end to pretty much say, this really wasn't worth waiting for, was it? It's just so good. It's always nice to see Steve Rogers in a lighter and more enjoyable way, like when he's playing a parody of himself. The moments from the first Avenger when he's socking Hitler in the jaw, and in Thor the Dark World where we see Loki take on his guys and the Stars and Stripes, they always seem to be quite enjoyable bits of levity. Here we see him in a series of PSAs, I think they're called. We don't really have them over in the UK, but obviously I know of them. The fact that Marvel used the knowledge that we fans would sit through the entirety of the credits for a mere morsel of future events and troll us in the way that they did shows the love that they have for us and also their films and what they've built. It was great. The final moments of the film gave us a name drop that I think most believed was coming. Zendaya's character, Michelle, becomes the head of the debate team, and she says, "My friends call me MJ." Now, yeah, her initials are MJ, but it's just a nice little nod to a possible future love interest. It's clearly a reference and possibly even a slight redo of the character. I'm not saying that she's going to be Mary Jane Watson, but it could happen. The film introduces us to the character, makes us enjoy her witty banter and funny quips, then pulls the rug and says that she was MJ all along. Thing is, it's good to see her actually being the one who is fancying Peter, in a switch around from like the Sam Raimi films where Parker is constantly lusting after Mary Jane. You know, he thought she was an angel. She appears to be somewhat reclusive, not the popular girl she was in the Sam Raimi films, but someone more in line with the unpopular Peter Parker. It's good, and the way she looked longingly after Peter as he left told the whole story. The opening of the film, set in the aftermath of the Avengers, showed Toomes as a man who worked for a living. He clearly looks out for his family, not just his family but also his working family. He begins the film looking at a drawing of the Avengers by his kid, and then he's ousted by Stark. It shows him as being desperate and also more of a sympathetic villain. On the picture front, I actually thought it would be Michelle who turned out to be Toomes' daughter, because they emphasised the picture at the beginning, and then throughout the film Michelle was always drawing, so it was kind of linking them two together that way. Thing is, I was wrong, and instead the film lulls you into a sense of calm. Peter's getting his life back, as I mentioned before. He's asked his school crush Liz to the homecoming dance, and he knocks on the door, and Toomes answers it. I think I saw it come in literally a millisecond before the door opened because everything was just too calm. And I think everyone in the cinema sat up and took note. It was one of those rug pulls that just worked really well. The whole scene played out extremely well, showing Peter physically shaken with the reveal. Toombs comes across as a normal, everyday dad. That is, until he discovers Peter's identity. But even then, despite pulling a gun outside the school, he works on a kind of honor system that stops him from killing Peter straight away. He says that because Spider-Man saved his daughter in DC, he gets to go to homecoming dance and show his daughter a good time. This even carries over into the mid-credit scene. Toombs is approached by Scorpion, who believes Toombs knows Spider-Man's identity, but Toombs doesn't tell. This is most likely due to Spider-Man saving his life in the final battle. Either that or he's saving him for himself, which I doubt. I think it's the former. At the end of the whole ordeal, Peter is taken upstate to the Avengers complex, where he is presented with a brand new suit and a chance to be initiated into the Avengers in a press conference. Ultimately, he turns it down, giving us the chance to see how much Peter has grown throughout the film. He sees that his place is on the streets fighting for the people of New York. But having this scene here is a clear nod to the press conference in Civil War, the comic book, where Peter Parker reveals his identity. However, it's also a stark contrast, pun intended, to the closing press conference of the first Iron Man film. Both press conferences revealed the identity of Iron Man and Spider-Man. And Homecoming has Spidey turning his back, opting to stay under the mask. It's a nice little reference that shows Peter's future within the MCU is clear cut. Donald Glover appears in the film as Aaron Davis, who comic book fans will know as the uncle of Miles Morales. Morales becomes the next Spider-Man in the Ultimate comic series. This reveal and the fact that Glover mentions his nephew says that Morales is in the MCU. And the fact that he has been hinted at already sets up the character for future MCU films, and it shows that they have a plan for him. Now, full theorizing mode, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, or at least Tom Holland has a 5-movie contract. 2 films have already been done, Civil War and Homecoming. There are 2 Infinity War films to come, potentially one called Gauntlet, and then Homecoming 2. Kevin Feige has stated Spider-Man will kick off the next phase and close out the 22-movie run from the first Iron Man film. To me, this shows that we will see a departure of the old guard. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, etc. But I also believe this will include Spider-Man, or at least Tom Holland's Peter Parker. We know after the 5 movies the rights will go back to Sony and their deluded Spideyverse. But I believe that only means Peter Parker's Spider-Man will be leaving. My theory is they will set up Miles Morales just before or during Infinity War, or maybe Homecoming 2, having appear in Homecoming 2, and then Peter Parker will either die or something will happen to him so that the mantle is passed. This will allow Sony to continue making awful films, whilst at the same time having the MCU have a Spider-Man full-time. I may be wrong, but I reckon there is something behind this. I think this could be how they get around Sony owning Spider-Man. We could end up having 2 Spider-Verses, which sometime down the road they could then join up again and have a Spider-Verse movie, including Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and whoever plays Miles Morales. And I think that would be a very exciting film. Avengers 6, maybe? Who knows? On a final note, there were a couple things I didn't really understand. Homecoming was set 8 years after the Avengers. This either means Avengers was set in 2009, which is plausible given Iron Man began in 2008. But if it was set in 2012, then Homecoming was set in 2020. I know it's nothing in the grand scheme of things, and it can all be ironed out later, but it's still a little bit confusing. I reckon it means that Iron Man, Thor and all that happened within months of each other for the Avengers to occur in 2009. Also, this isn't a criticism of the film, but the marketing. When I saw the trailer, it pretty much showed everything beat for beat. And overall, it didn't damage the film, but it just took away the stakes. We knew what was coming. I knew that once they were in DC, there would be a rescue scene. I'd seen Spider-Man swinging through the burbs. I'd seen Spidey hold a ferry together. And then Iron Man come and push the ferry back together. And then chastise Peter for taking on a job that's too big. I knew the end battle would be on top of a plane. They showed everything. It annoys me that producers think we want to see the film in the trailer. We really don't. We want to see everything in the cinema. We want it to... It's like the reveal. That was hidden. That was okay. But still, it's just... They could have left it. However, saying all this, I did enjoy the film. It was good. It showed Peter Parker as a young hero, not sure of all his powers, and making a hell of a lot of mistakes. And that was good. He's learning. It's a origin story without the origin story. And it worked well. More like that, please. I give Spider-Man Homecoming an A. I've been a Movie Geek. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching.